So with the release of Yukon Valley just on the horizon and other videos being released in the community talking about everything that needs to be fixed with this game, I thought I would kind of do a bit of a 180 from that and talk about my Call of the Wild wish list. And I'm going to start with a couple of things that are actually in Classic. I want to do this first just so we can get them out of the way, but the first is just a couple of weapons that are in Classic. So Muzzleloader is the one I want the most. I don't think it necessarily has to be something that is super useful. I don't think it has to be like a Mosin that makes other weapons in the game obsolete. It's just a really cool weapon to hunt with. Like, naturally, that's not something that needs to be incredibly powerful. I don't know where it would necessarily need to fall in terms of integrity. Maybe something like weapon class 2 or 3. I say 2 because maybe you could, because it's a lower velocity, maybe you could fit it in there, give it some more power, something like that. But like I say, it doesn't have to be a super great thing. It would be more of a fun weapon to hunt with. The next one is the 10mm, and this one's just got a really high fire rate. It's actually fairly powerful, and oddly enough, it works really well on wolves in Classic. So with Yukon Valley being revealed and one of the species on that map going to be wolves, that actually works fairly well. But because integrity works as it does in Call of the Wild, and you can use weapons that are actually lower than is necessary and not have any kind of integrity penalty, this might actually be a really good weapon for defending yourself from animals that are charging. With a fire rate like that, and like I said, it actually does have some power, I think it could be pretty dang useful. And the last weapon I have is the 22 pistol. So I like to carry a 22 in Call of the Wild. You just never know when you're going to see a rare or a diamond, duck, or rabbit, but it does take up a lot of inventory space. So to have that caliber in a pistol to where I could actually maybe get to carry a different rifle with me or something like that, that would be really nice. So the next thing that is kind of from Classic as well, I just want to see a change to the scoring system. I really don't think that things like consecutive harvest and quick kills should affect the overall score of your trophy. I do think it should be trophy rating only, but I don't think you need to get rid of the bonuses. I think they could just add to your weapon score or your cash or your XP. I don't think they should actually affect the total score. And I don't necessarily think they need to get rid of like bronze, silver, gold, diamond as well. I think that could be purely based off like the percentage of the maximum trophy rating, but I don't like the bonuses affecting score because even though I totally understand promoting like ethical shots and ethical hunting, all that, if you do make a bad shot on a deer and you recover it in real life, it still scores the same thing. So I would like to see that. I don't necessarily feel like the bonuses are a great thing for the game, but I do get it where they're going with it. So the third thing is tracking skill, and this is like half from Classic, not entirely, but there's recent talk of the Zag tactics being like changed by the devs or whatever, and I've dropped them myself already. It would be nice though to get more accurate estimates from tracks when you're picking them up. So like, I've played the game for nearly 2,000 hours. I can't imagine how many moose tracks or deer tracks I've picked up, and if I was doing that in real life, I would probably start to get a better idea of how big an animal is based on the tracks. Obviously, I can't really do that in my real life, but if I were to have this many hours tracking animals, I probably would. So I'd like to see that. Classic has it to where you got to pick up a certain number of tracks. They don't say what it is, but you level up and you get more and more accurate estimates. You gain more information from tracks, stuff like that. But they could just go with like a skill or perk point thing. You could maybe have a 2 or 3 level thing. Every level decreases the weight estimate on tracks. And I don't think it should go too far, but I don't know. Maybe to where on a whitetail I'd get like 90 to 100, 91 to 100. I know I'm looking at like an 890 minimum with that. So this might actually be my favorite idea for the entire thing, and you guys can let me know what you think on this, and that goes for everything I've said. If you have opinions on what I've said, or just ideas yourself, leave them in the comments, because I do want to read them, but I don't love the level system in this game. I don't hate it, but when I spot a deer and there's like an arbitrary level 2, that does give like a really arcadey feel, just attributing a level to an animal. So what I'd like to see instead is an age system. So, I don't know, that's probably a 2-year-old deer. So instead of when I spot this guy I get 2 minor, I should maybe get 0 to 2 or 0.5 to 2.5 to be super accurate, but in order to clean that up and get rid of decimals, I think they could just round down. But yeah, let's say we've decided that a 4-year-old deer has a fairly decent chance of making diamond because that's where they mature. I actually think this fits in how the game works currently fairly well, and also it fits with some of the things like Kudu and Black Buck, where non-max level animals are making diamond. It does happen. Let's just stick with that 4-year-old whitetail example. it does happen where 3-year-old whitetail can reach like 180. In super, super rare cases, maybe a 3-year-old deer could make diamond. And then, I don't know, go up to 6 years old, go up to 8 years old, whatever they want to do. But I kind of think that would be a much more realistic thing to add. And yeah, just like to get rid of that arcadey, arbitrary level system. I should actually mention with that as well before I move on, I do think that obviously the older an animal is, the more difficult it is to actually get close to them and to call them in and all that stuff. I do definitely think that should factor in. So if I get a 7-year-old buck or an 8-year-old buck, maybe they should actually start to decline a little bit. They could definitely still make diamond if they had like the right genetics or whatever, and I realize genetics aren't a part of this game, but hopefully you can understand my point. They should maybe be a little smaller than their absolute peak would be. Anyway, they should be a lot more difficult to call in than a 4-year-old buck with the exact same trophy rating. So that is something I'd really, really love to see. And again, I'd love to hear you guys' opinion on that. I really think that is the one thing that would have, I don't know, a lot more realism than the current way the game works. And the last one actually is I'd like to see camouflage actually matter. So we're just going to take one more whitetail since we're shooting whitetail, and then we're actually going to jump back to the inventory so you can see what I mean. If we go into the store and we go to clothing, your choice of clothing does not affect how well animals can detect you, and I would really like to see that change, because I think that obviously that's an aspect of real life hunting, but I think that would be just another thing to kind of consider, and I don't know, I like that. So, you know, you could add like forest camo or like marsh, grass, wetlands kind of camo for areas just like this. You could have like a winter camo for Medved, and maybe with the snow accumulation that happens on Yukon Valley, if you're wearing that, that would do better when there's snow, and then forest camo would do better when there's not snow. All that could be pretty cool. And yeah, I just think that would be neat. Again, they do have it in Classic where camo matters. This one I didn't throw at the front because I didn't necessarily get the idea from Classic. I just think that it should actually impact your gameplay. Your choice of camo should impact the way animals can detect you and all that stuff. But yeah, that one's at the end because I don't think it's a huge deal, but I would like to see it. I like aesthetics. But that is kind of my top 5 wish list for Call of the Wild, so I really want to see you guys' opinions. Again, new map is on the horizon, so I think now's maybe a decent time to talk about potential new things, as we already know what's coming to the game currently. So yeah, let me know what you guys think. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.